Attention on this channel. We've got an important message. All observations and opinions shared here are for educational purposes only. This content is intended for adults. Viewer discretion is advised. Be advised that any individuals mentioned are not intended to suggest involvement in any crime.
Case by case, got the fire.
Ha!
Yo, you wanna talk about true crime? We start with a guide that flows. Digital footprints meet criminal defense, that's how the story goes. This channel's all about online evidence, the stuff they overlook. From live stream chats to deleted posts, it's all in the true crime book. My goal is to provide insight for the attorney in the darkest hour, to find the proof that can make a case or break a criminal's power. So whether you're a lawyer or a PI, we're diving deep in the mess, exposing misconduct and hidden truths to get to the very best leads. We break it down case by case on the trail of the facts. We show how digital evidence changes case outcomes, we on their tracks. No rumors, no gossip, just the evidence clear and concise, shining a light on the shadows at any cost or price. What do we do?
Case by case.
What's the motto? We're here for the victims, the ones who were left behind. We're here for the families, giving them peace of mind. We follow the paper trail, the digital footprints and the timelines, connecting the dots, we're reading between the lines. We don't just talk theory, we show you how it works in practice. We're here to help you stay ahead of the curve, to get a new analysis. You think you're in charge, but we're here to find what matters most. We're giving a voice to the voiceless, like a digital ghost. Digital ghost, digital ghost. We break it down case by case on the trail of the facts. We show how digital evidence changes case outcomes, we on their tracks. No rumors, no gossip, just the evidence clear and concise, shining a light on the shadows at any cost or price. What do we do?
Case by case.
What's the motto? From digital clues, the mystery, you wanna know the answers? We're dedicated to the chase, from the first look at the scene to the final resting place. We're here to find the answers, to give the victims their due. A true crime channel with a heart and a purpose too. We're here to build up, to expose the truth, and to shine a light on the darkest of deeds with all our might. We're here for the truth, we're here for the facts, and that's it. We don't chase the trends, we just chase the truth and never quit. We let the past speak for itself, we let the facts lay the ground. We're just here to be a voice, a tribute that is sound. Yeah, it's all for the truth. All for the truth.
Ha! Come on, come on. Let's go.
Their thoughts for you, yeah. Won't kiss the ring. Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
Ooh, let me remove that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Case by Case. Sorry if things were a little tricky there. We had a premiere going on. I thought I had timed it up right, but I think that I was a little late on getting Garrett's his first interrogation video out there on the premiere, leading up to this live. What is today? Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Travis, if you're in the chat, I sent you a link by email if you want to hop up here with us. Cherie is joining us tonight. Hello, Cherie.
Hello.
She is my partner in crime from the very beginning. Cherie and I and Travis have worked on Ashley's case. I would think going on like 3 years now, almost 3 years, but we've made a lot of headway. There's a lot of things behind the scenes going on. And last week was the very first time that we've had Ashley Garth live discussing her case. Many of those who have followed the Delphi case and followed the Nicole Bowen case. Have never heard from Ashley before. Hey, Chris, how are you? So we felt it was important. Ashley has wanted to speak out for a long time. She just didn't know how to go about it. We went through the prison. We did get permission from Internal Affairs for her to be able to speak out and do these interviews. If you haven't listened to last week's episode and her interview there, I suggest before you listen tonight, you go back and listen to that one, because tonight we are getting into some really heavy emotional things, and I'm just going to play it by ear with Ashley. And Ashley she's come a long way through therapy and counseling, and her PTSD and being a victim of abuse and being an addict. Ashley was addicted to meth. And with that comes a lot of different avenues of regret and her attempting to rebuild her life. And I'm not going to speak for her. I'll let her speak for herself tonight. There's going to be a lot of tough questions. We're going to talk about a lot of things that a lot of people have wanted answers to. And the best way I can describe it is Ashley is true blue. You might not like the way that she comes across, or you might not like the way that she's so forthcoming, but she's true blue and she's honest. And that's her through and through, bottom line. So, Chris, I will tell her that you said hi. Tonight, going like the last couple of days, her and I have spoken, and I don't know how many questions I'm going to, if you're putting questions in the chat tonight, I will try to get them conveyed to her. We are planning on doing a Q&A with her after we discuss the case, because she's on limited time. It's 20-minute phone calls, and every single time, hey, Giuseppe, hello, how are you guys? She's on 20-minute phone calls, and then every time the phone picks up like outside noise or anything that they think is suspicious, they'll cut us off. So I think we were cut off at least twice the last time around. So that's where we're at right now. Cherie, do you want to add anything? You've been on this with me since day one. We've went together and visited Ashley. You know this case just as well as I do.
Well, it was hard to understand everything when I first heard it 2.5 years ago. I remember it was in July of 2023. But, once you hear it a few times and understand everything that happened, it's sickening how wrong it was, how unfair it was handled in the justice system.
Yeah, this is not a case of corruption by any means. It's not like what we're dealing with in other cases, or mainly the Delphi case. And furthermore, a lot of the information that we've uncovered since Cherie and I have worked on this case, Ashley wasn't even aware of during the process of her trial, which I wasn't involved. Me and Ashley were not in communication during her trial. I didn't come into contact with Ashley until well after her trial, well after her conviction. And to be honest, when I went into this, I didn't have the mindset that Ashley was an innocent person. she was just someone that we had never heard from. And we knew that Garrett was a prime suspect in the Delphi case. I, at that time, really believed that Garrett was the epitome of the young bridge guy sketch. He was arrested on April 1st. The April 19th press conference that Doug Carter gave, where they, hey, Peggy, oh my God. Peggy Garth is here. That's Ashley's grandmother, ma'am. She's the sweetest. Oh my gosh. Hi, ma'am. I look for Toby to be popping in here too. But you know, when I reached out to Ashley initially, I mean, I've gone over this so many times. It was just to get her version of events and what her thoughts were on Garrett. And I mean, she lashed out at me really angrily because she's like, I'm effing innocent. And I don't have anybody defending me. And I don't know what Garrett did. I don't care what Garrett did. Like, this is where I'm at right now. And I took a moment and listened to her. And it took me 3 months to actually get on her phone call list. I had to go through a process, getting approved, which in the men's prison, it's different. But with the women's prison, you have to go through sending in your ID, going through counselors, etc., and getting approved. And Chevy, you're here too. Oh my God. Hi, Chevy. Ma'am and Chevy are both here. Chevy is Ashley's son. Chevy, I don't know if you understand how much your mother loves you. I'm so happy you're here. This is going to make things a little bit more difficult on your mom to talk tonight. But I think that you know in your heart of hearts who your mother is and that she's not guilty of this. And she's fighting really hard to get home to you. This is... Anyway, I have to stay on track. But Ashley and I developed a relationship, and for probably 6 to 8 months, I was skeptical. And I just took the information that she gave me and that she told me, and I started researching. And I started making phone calls. I started doing all different kinds of things that I probably shouldn't have done. And I've probably crossed a lot of lines that I shouldn't have. But the more I dug, the more I found. And I started to become angry, that more so about the fact that at that point in time in the relationship that I was developing with Ashley, she still at that time was very supportive of her public defender who defended her in her trial. And the more I uncovered, I was really surprised at the fact that she wasn't aware of all of the things that weren't done. And when I started presenting these things to her, I mean, she was pretty devastated because she was like, I trusted her. I really felt that she had my best interests at heart. And long story short, her and I have worked through this for 3 years now. And I was very lucky to have Cherie jump on board. I was very lucky. We were very lucky, Cherie and I, to have Travis in the foreground, guiding us and helping me figure out what I needed to do next when it came to gathering her court documents, her pretrial motions, I mean, we have everything. And there was a lot of things that I uncovered throughout this work that Ashley wasn't even aware of. And when we presented it to her, you know, it was kind of like a ton of bricks being dropped on her, where things started to make sense, that she knew there was things that she didn't know, but I guess she didn't want to believe it. And, you know, we're here. We're still fighting. We have plenty of options. We're taking those options. We do have several irons in the fire right now, even though maybe the naysayers looking at her case on the docket might go, okay, well, her case is dead in the water. She's been denied her post-conviction relief. She was denied her direct appeal. She's been denied her transfer. Okay, well, yes, those things are all true. And I'm going to reiterate for the 1 millionth time that once you are found guilty and you are sentenced to prison, it is a mountain climb to reverse that. And we are climbing that mountain, and we have routes that we're taking. And I'm not saying that frivolously. There are things going on that I feel are going to be very beneficial, because there are outlets that we can take at this point in time that are going to allow us to raise all of the things that were failed to be raised in post-conviction and in the direct appeal. I don't care if we exhaust all of our options. I will still always be there for Ashley. I believe in her innocence that much. And that's all that, I mean, that's why I'm here. I mean, Cherie and I have worked our tails off. The money doesn't matter, but we have spent a lot of money on documents. We have spent a lot of time. We've traveled. We've done a lot of things to try and get the truth about this case to come out. And we're going to continue to do that work. So, hey, Toby. So, Cherie, Ashley's going to be calling in here at any moment. I'm going to let you take the floor for a minute.
I was going to say that I think I might disagree with you a little bit on no corruption involved in Ashley's case. It's not the same way as Richard Allen's case, but I think the funny business with, not charging Garrett with Ray until after Ashley's case, and it was kind of like Travis said at one point, that they, okay, you take this one, you take that one, and we'll time it so we can each get a conviction, and that's not money corruption maybe, but it's like, so we can each get the win, that's my opinion.
You know what? I never looked at it like that. And I guess, yes, that would be considered corruption. And I do know that ma'am, Ashley's grandmother, did hire the current White County prosecutor. At the time, he was I'm not going to say his name, but at the time, he was a public defender. He was given a substantial retainer to take Ashley's case. So ma'am thought that she had secured a good attorney for Ashley. And within a month, I believe it was, I could be wrong on the time, but within a month, instead of having the audacity to show up himself, he sent an assistant to the prison to inform Ashley that there was a conflict of interest and that they could not represent her. And then the next thing you know, he was running for the prosecutor's office. And they never gave back her deposit for the retainer. So Ashley was left without an attorney. So she accepted a public defender, and I agree with you 1,000,000%. You know, when you get further down the road, because at the time of, I think, Ashley's first, when Ashley was arrested, and at the time of Nicole Bowen's murder, no one was really aware of the Ray Hainish case. That didn't come until a little bit later. And even then, we're still dealing with Ray Hainish. Ray Hainish was found with ligatures tied around his neck. He was tied to a bed, arms behind his back, his apartment completely demolished, with what appeared to be a party that ensued. And for 6 months, it was stated that he died from natural causes. And that really affected Ashley's case, because everyone knew behind the scenes, law enforcement wise, that Garrett was the prime suspect in that case. And because because Garrett had not been charged, that case was not allowed to be brought up in Ashley's defense. And the reason that was important is because there were parties that were thrown at Ray Hainish's apartment. There's a very good possibility that Nicole Bowen, not only Nicole Bowen, but Talitha Beckley were both present. And we know that Nicole Bowen was arrested with Garrett in Ray's car. None of that was allowed to be brought in to Ashley's trial, proving a motive why Garrett would want to take Nicole's life. I'm going to Cherie, take over for just 1 second. I have Ashley's calling in, so I'm going to set her up so she can come on.
I'm pretty sure there is some kind. They have to take a pledge when they are sworn in Indiana too. But seems like a lot of attorneys don't abide by it and get away with it. Oh, you had McClellan, Chris Kruk? Lucky you.
Okay. So everybody, Ashley's here. Say hi.
Hi.
Can you guys hear her okay?
I can.
I'm just checking with chat if they can hear you.
Okay.
So Chevy's here, your dad's here, Ma'am's here, Cherie's here, I believe Travis is here. Chris Kruk is in the chat. He says, hi, Ashley.
Hey.
So we left off, so we're going to get right to it because we know that you're on limited time. We left off last week with you being at the White County Hospital, and then we kind of jumped forward to when you went over to, is it Nate's house?
Yeah, the neighbor's house.
Yep, the neighbor's house. Well, so that was kind of like all combined. That's the Nate's house came first, then the White County Hospital. And then you ended up at Jasmine's. The in-between there, If you want to talk about what do you remember about White County Hospital? Because we have a 32-page medical report that was never admitted at your trial, where you were taken to the hospital on March 25th, and you were there for I forget how many hours that you were there, but they ran a whole bunch of tests. You had some chest injuries and you had some bruising, and Garrett had told the medical staff that you had been in an ATV accident. So what do you remember about that?
Really, not a lot actually. I was really in and out of it. I remember not being able to breathe. I remember a lot of pain. I remember Garrett doing all the talking. I didn't get to say, what he was saying or what he was telling them. And honestly, I wasn't strong enough physically or mentally to argue any of it. And also, I think it's important to realize once he knew that I was hurt after he did things to me, he then became very sincere and very gentle. So especially in front of others, like the hospital. So it wasn't something that, it was normal for him to hurt me and to pretend like he wants to take care of me. Everything's okay. So I didn't feel at that point, for one, I wasn't in my right mind to think of, hey, I'm in danger. I'm still in danger. At that point, I'm just like, hey, this is normal, and he's going to take me home because that's where I said I wanted to go. And that's all I could think about was, I'm just going to go home, and then I don't have to worry about it again. I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to sleep it off. I'm just going to go home and be hurt because that was normal.
So how did you end up at Jasmine's?
Well, I don't really remember. Somebody gave us a ride. Somebody had to give us a ride because at this point, neither of us had a vehicle. I don't know who, and I don't remember how. But it was one of those things, he told me he was going to take me home. I got in the vehicle thinking he was going to take me home, and I fell asleep on the way, and when he woke me up to get out of the car. We was at Jasmine. And it was supposed to be one of those, hey, I'm going to go in here, and we'll leave in a little bit, and I'll take you home. And I still had no reason to believe that that's what was going to transpire.
What was going to transpire?
I mean, I had no reason to believe that was going to transpire like that. I still thought that he was, hey, we're going to go in here, and he's going to do whatever he's got to do, and he's going to take me home.
As I understand it, she believed Garrett when he said he was just stopping in for a minute and then he was going to take her home. So is that what you're saying, Ashley? I don't know if she can hear me. Amy, if you're talking, we can't hear you, or I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. So is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So do you remember when you got out of the hospital, your friend Josh picked you guys up? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I remember Garrett being very aggressive with him and intimidating him, and he definitely was telling Josh what was going to happen. And I remember Josh being like, hey, if you feel safe, you can tell me, but there was no way for me to be like, hey, no. And I was not myself. Like, I was very displaced in my mind as to what was really going on. Like, I had a concussion, and I just wasn't okay. I wasn't okay physically. And so that played a whole lot of part in me complying to whatever was going on.
So yeah, that's from what I remember. I mean, the interview that I did with Josh is on the channel. It's under interviews, and that's kind of how he described it. And I think that he was completely I don't even think that when he picked you up from the hospital that he even realized. So apparently because this has been a couple of years ago where I talked to Josh, but he was aware of an abusive ex-boyfriend of yours, and he didn't realize when he picked you up that day that you called him for a ride from the hospital that the guy who got in the back seat was the abusive ex-boyfriend. He didn't realize that until you guys were already on the road. And he said, I mean, I can't remember if I've ever played that interview for you or not, but he said that he actually described you as acting like an 8-year-old child that day. Like you just were not acting normal.
Yeah, because I wasn't feeling normal. I wasn't okay, and quite frankly, I shouldn't have. I don't remember. I didn't have the phone to pick up and call Josh. So I would imagine what really transpired was like Garrett was like, "Hey, we need a ride," and so I was like, "Well, you could text Josh," and it was all, through messages. So it wasn't even me like picking up the phone and being like, "Hey, I'm in the hospital, I need a ride." It was more of a text message, and considering it was Garrett's phone, he was the one to have sent the text messages.
Now, during that time frame, because we know that during that time frame, what was Garrett? Do you remember anything that Garrett was telling you? Like when Josh picked you up, was he saying anything like privately to you, like keep your mouth shut or anything like that?
No, not along those. Like he wasn't. It wasn't in any threatening manner. Like he knew that I was really done, and that is what had even started the altercation that led to me going to the hospital. Like is the fact that I was really done, and so he was trying to at this point milk any of the time that he could get out of me, and it was I was put in a very manipulated situation where he was using the benefit that I was not in my right mind to make any kind of decisions, and so he was making them.
So when you get to Jasmine's and he wakes you up and says, "Okay, we're going to go in here for a few minutes," what happened when you got to Jasmine's?
I remember that Chris was there and Jasmine was there, and we just went in and they talked about, doing some tattoos or something, and I literally sat down on the couch and sat next to Garrett and fell asleep. I don't really remember any of that night because I slept most of it. But they all stayed up and got high while I was here asleep.
Had you ever met Chris or Jasmine before?
No, never heard of them.
Okay, so from there, I'm going to let you just tell the story. What happened from there?
So when I got up that morning, Mikey Hiddle was there. So at this point, it was Chris was gone. So it was Jasmine, Garrett, and Mikey. And it was finally to the point where I was like, more conscious of what was going on. And I remember I'm like, hey, I'd like to go home. And Garrett's like, yeah, well, me and Mikey's got to go run somewhere, and then we'll come back and get you. And I was like, no, like, if you're leaving, take me with you. Like, I don't know where I'm at. Like, I want to go home. And then I found out, like, the place that they were going to go was literally right down the road from my house. And I was like, it'd be stupid for you to go all the way there and not take me with you. Like, take me home. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to go to the gas station. We'll be right back. And I was pissed. I didn't understand why they couldn't just take me with them and drop me off at my house. So they left, and time kept going by, and I didn't have a phone, so I was gonna call them. And Jasmine was really weird about, like, every time I was like, hey, can you message them and see where they're at? Like, clearly they left without me. Like, when are they gonna be back? And at this point in time, I still really didn't feel like I was in danger. Like, Jasmine seemed cool. Like, we talked. I helped her clean her house, whatever. Like, I was finally feeling okay. And the day kept going on. I'm like, hey, can you text Mikey and see where they're at? And she's like, oh, yeah, well, they're on their way. Or, yeah, they're going to be here. Or whatever. Like, she just kept stringing it on. And at this point, it's like nighttime, and I was like, hey, do you think I could use your phone and get on Facebook and see if I can get a hold of them? And she allowed me to for just a very few minutes, and that's when I tried to call Garrett. He didn't answer. I tried to call Talitha and be like, hey, have you seen Garrett? And she was not giving me any information.
So okay, so explain to the viewers, why would you call Talitha?
Well, because that's what they said. That's where they were going at Delphi. She lives with Jason, and they're going to Jason. It's from what my understanding was. They're going to get drugs.
So Mikey and Garrett left to get drugs, and they were and
yeah.
This is kind of, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but Talitha Beckley lived at the Palladino compound, and Ashley knew that Talitha lived there. So
right.
When you say that you called her, you were calling on Facebook, right?
Yeah. So Jasmine was very weird. Like I said, she was very weird about me using her phone. Like, she didn't want me to do anything else other than what I had asked, and that's literally what it was. She let me try to call Garrett once, she let me try to call Talitha once, and when neither of them were answering, she took the phone back. And so that should have been my first red flag, is that something was wrong. But I just passed it off like maybe some people are just detective of the phone. Like, okay, I mean, you don't know me, you don't know what I'm really doing on your phone. That's cool. And so at this point, it's closer to 11 o'clock, closer to midnight-ish, and the last time she said, well, they're finally on their way. But I had been hearing that all day. And are you talking about, and so I figured when she said they, like, that she meant Mikey and Garrett. I had no idea that they was not Mikey and Garrett.
So what did the two of you, what were you, did Talitha, I know at some point Talitha did respond to you. Can you kind of go into that, and then what happened after she responded to you?
The only time that she responded to me was the time that I had the phone, and she told me that she was not with Garrett. Garrett was not with her. They had been there and left or whatever, or she had been there and left.
But we know now that she absolutely was with Garrett.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely was with Garrett. Absolutely was with Nicole, and absolutely was with Mikey.
So when Garrett and Mikey left Jasmine's property. They were supposedly going to Delphi to Jason Palladino's property to get drugs. They get there,
Right.
and they, I guess they got drugs, and Nicole shows up out of happenstance, and Talitha and Nicole leave with Mikey and Garrett, and they all end up over at Mikey Hiddle's apartment for the entire evening. So when you listen to Garrett's interrogation video, and he's talking about how him and Ashley picked Nicole up and drove her out to Newton County, and Nicole's in the back seat giving him this sad eye in the rear view mirror because Ashley and him are holding hands. All of that's a lie. All of it is a lie.
Yeah. I was definitely at Jasmine for 12 hours, unbeknownst to what Garrett was really doing or the fact that he was really with Nicole.
So I know the operator's going to come on here any minute. Do you how well did you know Talitha?
Not very well. I mean, I had met her a few times, but it wasn't really. You have 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, see, I knew we were going to get cut off.
Anything. It wasn't really anything where, other than, her being somewhere where we were at. I wasn't allowed at Palladino's, and that's where she always was. So it was a very rare occasion that I had ever seen her. But I knew that she did not care for me for whatever reason.
All right, call me back.
Thank you for using GTL.
Mandy Boo, no, you were right. If you believe the tips that were called in, that Derek German bought ice off of Mark Palladino and never paid for it. That is true. Talitha Beckley lived at the Palladino compound. She was a girlfriend of multiple Palladino men. She initially was dating Mark Palladino. Mark and her both were arrested for breaking and entering. And Mark went to prison. So then she latched on to Jason. And that is where, when Ashley kicked Garrett out, that is where Garrett went to stay. And he took Nicole with him. So it was Garrett and Nicole, Talitha and Jason at Jason Palladino's compound, the trailers over there off 600. But what no one knew until well after Ashley's trial was that Garrett was not only with Nicole, but he was also in an intimate relationship with Talitha.
And is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Okay, you're back.
Okay.
So you were talking about Talitha, that you had met her a couple of times and you felt like she didn't like you. You didn't know why. Anything else you want to add to that? Okay. So you're at Jasmine's trailer. You're stuck there.
Yeah.
And so tell us, I'm going to let you tell it. I don't want to.
Okay. That's fine. So, at this point, I'm starting to question, like, what the fuck is really going on? And it's such a rural area. I have no idea where I am. I didn't even see the way we came to get there, so it's not like I can just go out the door and go to a gas station, use the phone to go home or whatever. I literally had nowhere to go. And so when they get there, like, Garrett and Nicole and Teresa walk in, like, I'm pissed. Like, not only have you had me sitting here waiting all day, like, you brought somebody else with you. Like, I just didn't understand. Like, you clearly wasn't doing what you had told me you were leaving to do, and then you come back with somebody that wasn't going to be easy. And she was pissed. Like, why the hell did he bring her here? And I still didn't really question, like, the danger that I was in, but there was anger. And she threw words at me and came at me in a way that we got into an altercation. And it was really just a lot of, scratching. She hit me in the face a couple times. I pulled her hair. And in my mindset, like, when somebody is taller than you and they're hitting you, like, the only thing I could think of to do was to take her to the ground. And so as I was going to do that, I just remember Garrett, like, coming up side of me and hitting me in the face. And it broke us up. And at this point, that's when he got a hold of her. And I went to the bedroom. And I was, like, freaking out. And I still, like, the emotions of thinking about, like, how I felt then, like, when I think about it, like, I still feel those emotions about freaking out. Because you could no longer hear her screaming, like, she was literally fighting for her life. And it's not one of those things where it was her, me. Be able to breathe. I know I used the choice of words doing Pilates, but really it was just laying on the floor and fucking breathing.
So I know a lot of people in your interrogation video had some issues with you saying Pilates. And I've asked you about that a couple of times. And you just said that's the word that you describe what you had to do to maintain control. Like you laid down and you were trying to breathe. Take a second.
I mean, when you're put in a position of where you're scared of dying, your fight or flight instincts don't kick in. When you're put in a position of when things are transpiring in front of you, there is no getting away. And it's such a claustrophobic feeling. You can't breathe. And when everybody else in the room was acting like it was fucking normal, that's when I realized, like, I wasn't going to be okay.
I mean, I don't even know the next question to ask because it's so. Do you remember? I mean, because I know what you've told me, but I know that like when you're worked up and your emotions are where they're at right now, it's hard for you. And I know, I mean, I've talked to your grandma multiple times about the night terrors and your emotional stress. And I know what you've gone through since then, to maintain, to get back to a normalcy of feeling like you're in control of your own life. And that's why I feel it's so important for you to speak out, simply because there has been such, this is, let's just be honest. Let's just be flat out, completely honest, that this is about you being an innocent victim. That doesn't take away from Nicole being a victim. But this is the reality is that you were a victim in a much different way, that the story needs to be told in hopes that somebody is listening that can make a difference.
I'm not sharing any of this for anyone's entertainment. I'm sharing this for my pain and my raw emotions to get perceived in a way that you really haven't. Not only for my justice, but also to share, that pain to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hurts a whole lot. We weren't put in a position where it was me or her or her or I, or why didn't I save her, or, she easily and very may well would have been, could have been justified, why shouldn't it save me? Because it was both of us. And that's something that the guilt of even living today that I still hold.
I know. That's a hard. Oh, Ashley. And that's what I don't think that people. Well, that's what I want people to understand, is the position that you were put in. That not only are you witnessing this, but that you can't do anything about it. And then you're accused of it. It's I know.
When you're put in a position where you're now at this point, like, doing what you need to do or saying what you need to say, complying, being timid, you're going to choose the path with less resistance. Anybody is. And anybody that hasn't experienced it, 9 times out of 10 is going to be saying, well, no, I would have just left. No, you wouldn't have. It went where? So he can chase you like he's chased you before?
There was,
not a thing.
That, you know what? That's where I can say I come in. I went out there. I videotaped the area. There was nowhere for you to go. There was nowhere for you to go. You were literally in the middle of a freaking cornfield.
Yeah. And at this point, it was still 3-on-1. Like, I knew Talisa wasn't my ally. Jasmine wasn't my ally. Garrett sure in the hell wasn't going to save me. There was nowhere for me to go.
So
there was nowhere to get to feel safe.
So we can move on from that, and or unless you don't want to. I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you remember, whatever you feel comfortable discussing, I'm going to leave that up to you, because we are, we're still in the trailer. We know that. Here, I'm going to pop a picture on the screen. This is one of the images of Garrett's arm 5 days after this incident that law enforcement took. This is a picture of the inside of Jasmine's trailer, where the red cross is here on the floor. Next to the island is where the encounter between Nicole and Ashley took place. Ashley came out of the back bedroom. You can see the back bedroom there with the light. Ashley heard Garrett's voice, and she came out of the bedroom towards this white trash can here at the end of the island. And that's where she encountered Nicole and Garrett. And Talitha was somewhere in the foreground. And how long do you think that it was that you came out of the bedroom and you seen her and you seen Talitha and Garrett? Did the fight ensue?
I mean, barely even a couple minutes, long enough for us to exchange words. Really.
Do you remember what those words were?
No.
So then he breaks the fight up and he grabs her and he like wraps her up. Were you still standing there when he put her to the floor, or had you already fled the room?
I had already went to the bedroom.
And what happened?
He hit me. That's when I went.
Huh?
After he had hit me, I went to the bedroom.
And do you remember what happened from there?
I mean, I remember him coming back in and hurting on the floor.
Huh?
I think you could see her from where we was, and she was on the floor. And he was yelling, you know. Telling me that I needed to get my shit together, you know, because I was going to be next and I needed to compose myself. And he needed help. And I refused to give any kind of help. I mean, so him and Talitha took her outside, and then he left. Before he left, I was made to go into the other bedroom, and I was still crying, like, still freaking out. And then he told me that I was going to sit in there and wait for him to get back. And the whole while, Jasmine and Talitha were out in the living room getting high, acting like absolutely nothing fucking happened. I had the light on in the bedroom, and I remember they came in and turned it off and told me that I didn't need the light on to cry because I didn't need to see anything.
And then when Garrett came back, what happened then?
He wanted to take a shower, and he made me sit in the bathroom with him while he took a shower. And I'm still, like, I mean, at this point, like, he had hit me again because I was still crying, and he didn't want, I remember you said, I just fucking killed her. How do you think I feel? I'm not crying. Like, I was still, you know, like, freaking out. So at this point, I was trying to hold my composure, but it was not. It was not working. I'm scared on top of it.
So I have
And I remember, like,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I remember he had put his pipe in his hat and sat it on the side of the sink or something, and I knocked it off, and that pissed him off even more. And so while he got dressed, he made me get in the shower and told me that I better clean myself up, and stop crying before I come out. And so I sat in the shower and I cried. I don't know how long I was in there, but I cried for a really long time. Cody was at the door telling me to get out.
Okay. There's a question in the chat, and they're asking what drugs were going on at the time. Hold on. What kind of drugs were going on at the time in the trailer?
I mean, the only thing that was to my knowledge was meth. However, I don't know. I didn't use any other drugs, so I was not presented any other drugs. I know that Nicole was an opiate user, and so I can only assume birds of a feather that flock together that Lisa and Garrett were also using opiate. However, that's speculation. I don't know.
So when they got back to the trailer, because I know that Talitha at one point in her interrogation video said that you were smoking a bowl.
That's one thing that, I mean, I said it the last time we talked. Like, I was at.
Huh? I think my phone cut out. What'd you say?
At this point, I definitely was not trying to intensify me freaking the fuck out. So, smoking the bowl was not a thing.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to address about that night, or if you want to go into the next morning. Did you sleep that night at all?
No, not really. Not that I can remember, no.
So,
this is already after, by the time Garrett got back from leaving with Nicole, and then, at this point he is returning with Chris, it was already just about morning time.
what was your opinion of Chris? Because Chris. And,
you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, when you call back, I want to get into Chris's statements that he made during the Open Secrets interview, if you remember what those were.
I don't remember what they were, but you can refresh my memory.
Okay, when you call back, I will.
Okay. All right.
I'm so proud of you. I know this is tough. I know this is tough. But
I have literally been very emotional thinking about all this stuff for the last few days.
I know, because you've been messaging me. I just feel I
called my dad already twice now, blubbering, crying, and he hates it when I do that. He can't understand me. Ugh.
I know. And I gave you an out. I said, if you don't want to talk, if you don't want to do this, we don't have to do it. Did I not?
Thank you for using GTL.
Ashley's story just needs to be told. It just needs to be told, and it needs to be heard by somebody who can help her. And I think we have a couple people in line, if they just take the time to understand the situation that she was in, and the fact that battered women and domestic violence was never a part of her case. It's so frustrating.
debit call from.
No, she didn't meet up with Jasmine a couple of days later.
Monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Hold on, Ash. This is for Gen 38. Jasmine called her during Jasmine's interrogation video, and Ashley was trying to make her way. You have to understand that Garrett took her hours away. Not only was she hours away when this crime was committed, he then took her further away after the crime was committed. And there was a whole episode that transpired there where Ashley reached out for help, and Garrett had a gun put to his head. And Ashley was left with strangers who were trying to get her back close to home. But she never ended up meeting back up with Jasmine. Okay. God, I don't even know where we left off. What was the last thing that I said?
Well, you're talking about giving me an out, which I declined to take.
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's right. I did. I was like, if you don't want to do this, we don't have to do it. We can skip this part, even though it's tough. It's tough. And you know what? If you were a co-conspirator, somebody who helped set all this up, I don't think that you would give two craps about how all of this went down, and you wouldn't be as emotional as you are. And since the day I met you, this has been a very hard subject to talk about. And I couldn't even get you to talk about it on the phone. You had to put it in writing. And I've talked to Ma'am, and Ma'am has told me about the night terrors and the emotional stress that you went through when you finally got to come home after jail. And it's not something that I can put myself in your shoes. All I can do is have empathy for you. But I know that when I talk to your grandmother, and your grandmother is a straight shooter, like she's, it's black and white. And, she's talked about, your childhood and you being a teenager and some of the stupid things that you did. But then at the same time, she will tell me, I know my girl, I know my Ashley, and what she went through was horrific. So yes, I did give Ashley an out. I said, if you didn't want to talk about this, we don't have to. And you said you did. And I feel bad because you're upset. And I know it's upsetting enough being where you are and the emotional turmoil that we've gone through in the last 6 months with all of the filings and the denials. And we are now at a precipice of, I look at these filings, and this is the non-legality part of me talking. It's more of we're fighting someone else's mistakes, someone else's writings that are in control of your future and your life and your destitute, that a court says, no, you don't, you have the legality part of this wrong. It's not really now about the facts of the case. And the facts of the case have never really been presented to any judge or any court. And as much as I want to believe in true justice and the law, I look at your case and I go, oh my God, showing up and sitting at a defense table next to a defendant who's being charged with murder, isn't just doing your job. Because I felt like I feel so bad that I think that you realize now how you were failed. But I think that when you and I first made contact, you were very defensive of Lori James. Other than the fact that she wasn't conveying in the courtroom what you were writing on that yellow legal pad. But you really felt that she had your best interest at heart. And it was hard.
I didn't know any different.
Right. And the more I dug in and the more information I got, I kept going, oh my God, this was all right there in front of her, and she didn't utilize any of it. And then there was a lot of things that Cherie and I uncovered that you weren't even aware of.
No, there's a lot of pieces of all of this that I didn't know until, months after talking to you, and you're like, hey, you told me this happened, and so I took that to such and such, and I came out with, well, this is what you're missing, and all those pieces just started fitting. All the players started being put in the right positions, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because all this time, I really had no idea what happened. I was charged with this murder, and I didn't know why or how or really who was really involved. Like, there's so many things that I'd never seen or heard until after you had showed me. And, the whole time, like in my deposition against Garrett or in my lie detector interview, like, they kept telling me things like that I was the monster and that I was withholding information or that I was lying to make me feel like that I was stumbling on my words when nothing I have said has changed, because I don't have an alternative version. I only have the version of what happened. And that pissed them off more than anything.
So the next morning you get up and this was kind of a hard puzzle piece to put together, because I didn't understand what you were talking about for a while until I got the police report from Tippecanoe County about the arrest of Garrett and Nicole in Ray's car. But that morning, you left the trailer and Garrett took you and Talitha in Nicole's car, and you went where? And then describe. I remember distinctively you describing the car ride and what you thought or what you kind of were picking up on in the car between Garrett and Talitha.
Yeah, well, when we were going through Remington or whatever that town is, I noticed that they were talking about something that I really didn't understand about. Well, that's where it was, like, as we're driving around, where we passed this car loading, and he's like, yeah, that's where it happened at, And I fully realized that they were talking about something happening at that place where the guy had died. And it wasn't until later when I was in jail and I had finally said something about him killing Ray, when I was like, oh my God, I have heard about this before and I really didn't know. And so, at that point in time, I called Lori and was like, hey, I think I might know something, but I don't know anything at all. So I don't want to get stuck in the same position, because I have found out that assisting a criminal for not telling something is a real charge. And I didn't want to be put anywhere in that, because I had heard them say that's where it had happened at. And so that's when I had found out about him killing Nicole, or killing Ray.
And then he's taking Talitha back to Jason Palladino's house. You want to talk about that? This is the morning after he's taken Talitha Beckley home.
Yeah, and you gotta realize we're in Nicole's car at this point. Garrett is driving Nicole's car. And when we get there, Jason comes out and he is pissed. He didn't realize that I was in the car, and, you know, he was pissed that I was there. He was pissed that Talitha was with Garrett. And he pulls out a gun, starts firing his gun. Like, I thought he was going to shoot Garrett right then and there. Talking about, you know, things didn't go as planned. I shouldn't have been with him still. He was pissed. I don't know, you know, it's still speculation as to whether or not he was supposed to kill me first, or her, or if she was even the plan, or what, but I knew that I was not supposed to be there.
So we kind of, emotions are getting the best of me. After backing up, under your scars, oh my goodness, woman, you didn't have to do that, but thank you so much. Thank you so much, under your scars. When you were still at the trailer after the situation with Nicole, and then you arriving at Palladino's, what was the sentiment between you and Garrett? Was there anything? Because were there things being said? Did Talitha say anything to you? I mean, what was being?
I mean, at this point, I was, like I said, I had gotten to be very timid. I definitely was not speaking to unless spoken to. I was scared, so I was watching and being vigilant to every little thing, and neither of them really paid me any mind. I don't know if I was starting to become numb to what was happening. I was no longer crying, but I was definitely scared. So they didn't, and when they did, like, acknowledge that I was there, they were just very aggressive and very mean. Like, I was an outsider. I didn't fit with whatever they had going on.
So you said Jason came out of the house and he had a gun, and then what happened?
And so they started yelling or whatever, and I don't really exactly remember what all happened next, but then the next thing I know, Jason's getting in the car and they're taking me, this is how the trip happens to go down to Jeff.
You said that's when you went down to Jeff's?
Yeah.
Okay, describe that.
I mean, it was a really long car ride. It was so, like, farther than Newton County. It was in the opposite direction, even though I don't know that it's any farther or any closer. I didn't say anything. I sat in the back seat very quiet. And then when we get there, Jason leaves in Nicole's car and just drops me and Garrett off.
So
I remember, like,
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I just remember, like, when I get there, like, I felt that, like, I wasn't really acknowledged. Like, Garrett introduced me and was like, hey, yeah, this is Ashley, and then, like, didn't pay me any mind. But every chance I got, like, I told Jeff, like, I was pleading to Jeff, like, that I was scared. Like, I was clearly had been battered. Like, you could look at me and tell, I'm sure that something was wrong. Like, and I didn't say anything. Garrett was so very, very mean to me. so I kept telling him, like, hey, like, don't leave me alone with him. Like, please don't make me leave with him. Like, I need help. I need you guys to help me. And Garrett just chalked it up as me being some crazy dope fiend and me need to get high, when the whole time, like, I wasn't getting high.
So tell us about, and for those of you who haven't listened to, I did an interview with Jeff. This was the friend who lived out in Crawfordsville that Garrett took Nicole to Crawfordsville. Garrett and Nicole went out there to Jeff's house after being arrested and then released after Ray's murder. And then after Nicole, Garrett takes Ashley out there. So thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie has gifted 5 memberships to the channel. So if you are one of the lucky 5, make sure you thank Stephanie. So describe how that went down at the house, at Jeff's house. Because if you listen to the interview, I mean, Jeff's very straightforward about what happened. And Jeff's very much in your corner about when you arrived, what he witnessed, you looking like, for lack of a better word, you looking pitiful, holding a bag, and then you approaching his girlfriend saying, I need help.
Yeah, because there was this point where after I had already told, like, Garrett was outside or something, and I had told Jeff, I was like, look, like, he just killed this other girl, and he's been threatening me, like, to him next, like, I'm in danger, like, please help me. And Jeff was just like, oh, okay, like, well, let me see what I can do, kind of thing. Like, he did not want to believe me, but he was very nice to me, like, from the jump. Even if he thought I was batshit crazy, he was still very respectful to me. And so then there was a point where he left with Garrett, and at that first time, I told his girlfriend, I was like, hey, like, I really need help. Like, you know, I've been telling him, like, to get me away, like, I need somebody to help me, please. And she was even very skeptical about, like, I just must be off my rocker. And it wasn't until that night on the news when it was discovered that Nicole's body had been found. And it was like they all had, like, an epiphany. Like, here I was all day. I had been saying, please help me. He had told her, like, I'm next, I need saved. And what I had been saying was starting, you know, the body was found. And so they had known that she was there, you know, those weeks prior. So at this point, I was telling the truth. And Jeff was pissed. Jeff confronted Garrett, and of course Garrett was like, no, man, that didn't happen, that wasn't me. And to the point where Garrett pistol whipped him into telling him the truth, and as soon as Garrett admitted it, he made Garrett leave. And, you know, the first thing he did to me was tell me that I was safe, and handed me the phone, and I called my grandma.
Thank you, Mother of Dragons.
You have 1 minute remaining.
So Ashley, I'm going to have you call back, but Travis has a question for you. Travis asked, can you ask Ashley what kind of smarts Garrett had? He says, I haven't seen anything smart or good planning. Everything is what a typical meth head would do. Get worthless TV to sell for meth. So that was, Travis wants you to answer that question. So think about that as you call back, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for using GTL.
Thank you, Mother of Dragons. Thank all of you guys for being here. Um,
I wanted to, one of the people in the chat wanted to know if you could show them pictures of these people so they could know who is who at some point, or where can they go to look?
okay, so hold on. I can. And actually, the best place that I can tell you to get the information is before I covered Delphi publicly, I always followed Delphi. I spent a year and a half with Cherie and Travis working on Ashley's case, and we did numerous lives with numerous presentations where we showed Jasmine Parker, Talitha Beckley, Jason Palladino. If you go through the playlist, you'll find them. And
Debit call from
that's my
an inmate at the Indiana Department of Corrections. Indiana.
that's
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and
hold on,
recording.
sorry guys.
Thank you for using GTL.
That's the quickest place you're going to find them. I have switched laptops since then, and I don't have. Let me see. Hold on. So, Ash, did you think about that question that Travis had? Like, where was Garrett Smarts?
Yeah, you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. I think he's ready for it too.
Okay. He really wasn't. He had a few skills that he could do, but he hustled good. And he was a smooth talker, so he had a way of, he should have been a used car salesman, really, because he probably could have sold a lemon for a mint amount. So other than that, he really ran on no instincts at all. It was just kind of in the moment, let's do whatever is on his mind right then and there. There was no pre-planning of anything that should have been planned, on any aspect.
So he wasn't a smart boy.
No.
So guys in the chat, this is Talitha Beckley. Talitha is out walking the streets.
Is that her now? I don't think I've ever seen that picture.
Yeah, that's her now. That's been since she's been released. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you followed, or if you want to follow the Ashley's case, as we went through all of the different findings that we found, this woman right here plays a huge part in it, more so than anyone ever thought. And she's out and she's walking the streets.
I forgot something.
Go ahead.
I forgot something that happened.
Go ahead.
So on our way back from before we went to Jason's, before we got things off, we stopped by Kristen Smith's house, or whatever her name was. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that happened. I forgot all about. That's why I learned that maybe she had sold her or loaned her title to. What is your name? I know I said it wrong. What is your name?
No, you didn't say it wrong.
Should-
So I don't want to go into all of that because you're on paid time.
I'm just saying that did happen.
Yeah.
And he told her that definitely got the title back. But he told her that she was in rehab.
So this is here's another one. Let me make it bigger. Jasmine Clark. This is Jasmine Parker. She's out as well. And she's going by her, I think Clark is her maiden name or her married name from prior. But this is Jasmine. They're both on Facebook. Talitha Beckley in Butler County, and then Jasmine Clark. But all you have to do is go to the playlist for Ashley's case, and you will see and learn everything. So this is probably the last phone call for the night. So you finally break through to Jeff and Jeff's girlfriend that you need help. He's killed someone. He won't let you go. Are those the words that you use to him?
Yeah.
What happened after that?
Well, that's when, he kind of was just like playing it by ear. However, nobody was believing me. They weren't making matters worse. However, they weren't helping me either. And so on 11 o'clock news came on, and Nicole's body had been found, and they were finally starting to believe. And so they just told Garrett and tell him the truth, and they made Garrett leave. And the first thing he did was give me the phone to call my grandma. And I did, and I told her, I'm going to try to get a ride, and I'll be home.
Well, I think you called your dad too, because your dad said that you called him and you said Garrett did a really bad thing.
Yeah, that was the next day because I didn't know whether or not I should go straight to the police station or what I needed to do. One of the things that I've always been told was, you don't talk to the cops without an attorney. But at this point, I didn't feel that I had done anything wrong. I was a victim just as much as, she was. And I was finally, feeling like I was saved. And so, I know Jeff had to work that next day. And that was the first night that I finally got to sleep. And I slept the whole time he was at work, and then when he got off work, he woke me up. And took me to Lafayette, and we went to the police station. So he dropped me off in Lafayette, and the next day I went to the police station.
Stephanie, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. So, okay, let's can I hit you with some hard questions? So here's one. So you called into the Lafayette police station to say that you were coming in. And we know that was misconstrued in the police reports that, that never happened. But when you watch your interrogation video, when Detective Rowe comes in, he says, well, you called us and said you wanted to come in. So we know that's true. But on the onset, when you sit down and start talking, you don't tell the truth. What is your explanation for that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was just the fear of wanting to protect Garrett or the ignorance of me not wanting to be in reality of what really happened. I really just wanted to distance myself from, maybe I can just say that, I know he did something and I wasn't there and I didn't know, but so I didn't stand. He asked me one more time and I automatically, I told him the truth. Like, I was scared. I was really scared. I was scared on a whole different level. Like, I just wanted to go home still.
So we can watch your interrogation video, and we can see like the ups and the downs where you initially aren't forthcoming and then you are very forthcoming, and then it almost seems like, and I'm going to be honest, watching it almost seems like law enforcement kind of tricks you a little bit and says they're going to take you up to Newton County. That from there you get arrested and they're holding you. What was going on behind the scenes after your arrest? Were there other agencies coming in and questioning you about Garrett? What was going on behind the scenes between your first initial interview and your second one?
Well, first off, they didn't even have me booked in until 3 days after I had been there. And they told me that they were holding me for my protection. And also, I was getting questioned about Garrett's involvement in the Delphi stuff. And if I had any information, if I had been able to give them any information on Garrett and what I knew with his affiliation with the Delphi case, then I would be sitting at home right now. However, I can't tell anything that I don't know. I didn't know it the first time they had showed up at my dad's house to ask me questions, and I didn't know it then, and I still don't know it now.
So when they showed up at your dad's house, this was before Garrett put you in the White County emergency room. When ISP showed up at your house, I've always been under the understanding that they were showing up there looking for Garrett because he had been arrested in Ray's car. Were they asking you about Ray, or what were they asking you about when they showed up at your dad's house looking for Garrett? What was their reason for them looking for him?
They didn't really say. They asked me if I knew that he was gay. They asked me if I knew that he was targeting gay men on a website and doing a hate crime, essentially. They asked me about his whereabouts. They asked me about Nicole's whereabouts. They asked me if I had ever heard of Ray Hanish, which I hadn't. I mean, I didn't have any information, and I remember telling them, like, well, when you guys find them, I'd like them to come get the box of stuff that's sitting in my grandma's garage because I don't want to have it anymore. But he wasn't talking to me. I wasn't talking to him. I also didn't have any way of getting a hold of him, so I didn't have any information to give him.
So do you know who it was who was coming to the jail to question you about Delphi?
No, it was always the same two officers of whatever affiliation they're in.
And what were they asking you?
Just if I knew any, had any information about it. If I had any information about Garrett being, with it. I never known anything. I didn't even live in the state when it happened.
Had you ever met Ron Logan?
Yeah, I used to work at a daycare when I was in high school, and he had a relationship with my boss. It's the only other time I've ever met him.
Who was your boss?
I don't know if that's okay to exploit her.
Huh?
I said I don't know if that's appropriate to exploit her.
To exploit her?
Yeah, I don't.
Had you ever been at Ron Logan's house?
No.
Did you know that Garrett had? This was prior to. This is prior to the Delphi case. Were you aware that Garrett was going to Ron Logan's house and hanging out and riding four-wheelers or anything like that?
No. I mean, I don't want to say no. I had heard him say something about Ron Logan and his dad being friends and something about horses. But other than that, it's nothing that, I didn't know any other affiliation with them other than that. It had never happened while we were together, or at least not to my knowledge.
Okay. Checking our time. 15. We've got like 3 minutes left. Anything else you want to add?
No, not off the top of my head.
Let's see. Okay, Travis is asking, and I know. So Travis is asking if your boss at the daycare, is the boss that you had at the daycare the same person, the same girlfriend of Ron Logan's who said he was violent and that she thought Ron Logan was involved? Do you know anything? No? Okay. I'm thinking that you guys are thinking of Connie Dillman.
No, this person has never been brought up on anything. That's why I just don't feel comfortable throwing the name around like that. It's not important. It's not relevant.
So the next episode, we're going to get into what transpired after your arrest, your time in jail. And then we're going to get into you getting out on bond. Your dad bonds you out and going through the trial. And we're going to get into you being sent to Rockville prison and then Talitha showing up in Rockville prison when the two of you, when you had filed for a ex parte, asking for her to be kept away from you. We're going to get into all of those reasonings and all of that in the next one that we do. But while your family's here in the chat all together, do you have anything that you want to say to them?
No.
No? Oh, hold on. I think I turned the speaker off. To Chevy, ma'am, your dad, anybody, do you have anything to say to them while you're on here?
They all know that.
And I know that they love you too.
Yeah.
And are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you feel better or do you feel worse after talking about all this?
I don't feel worse. I don't necessarily feel better. I don't feel as manic as I was because I was very emotional.
I know.
And I mean, I'm still in the healing process, and I'm probably forever going to be when it comes to that situation.
Well, all you can do is keep doing what you're doing and move forward. And there's a lot of people who have experienced, like I told you today, there's someone who reached out who has experienced some of the same things that you have. And I'm hoping to have them on to share their story It's a lot. And the burden that you carry in what you have experienced and seen is heavy. And I know that you take responsibility for, not.
You have 1 minute remaining.
I hate her. You take responsibility for your life and the decisions that you've made. But like I told you today, you can't feel guilty about speaking out for yourself because you're innocent. I know it's not, yeah, it's yes. Like you cannot feel guilty for wanting to defend yourself.
I'm working out on not numbing out the bad, because in return that numbs out a lot of the good too. So I'm trying to feel all of it and feel properly.
I know. Well, I love you, and we're going to get cut off. So I want to say I love you.
Thank you for using GTL.
I knew we were going to get cut off. So there it is, guys. It's not perfect. It's not pre-planned. As you can tell, it's an organic conversation. This past week, I've given her every opportunity. Like if you don't feel comfortable, because she's worried about Nicole's family. She's worried about her own family. She doesn't have all the answers. A lot of the answers that we've dug up came after the fact. And, I told her yesterday, I said, if because she's like, I just really feel like I will talk better if this is just a conversation between you and I, and I'm answering questions. And I'm like, but I don't want to be the one, prompting you. I want you to tell your version of events. And there's days where she feels like she's in charge, like, she's overcome all of this, and, she's no longer a victim. But I still believe that Ashley is a victim of her emotions. She's a victim of her shoulda, woulda, coulda. What didn't she do? What should she have done? And she's not had a lot of, she's had the support of her family. But on the onset, being thrown into the public light, and I know that a lot of you guys don't realize what that's like. I don't know what that's like. She was thrust into the spotlight because Garrett became a figure of interest in the Delphi case, and she was drugged down because of that. And everything that Garrett was accused of, she was made out to be his sidekick, his ride or die. And that wasn't the case at all. And I mean, even in the last episode that we did here, there was questions that were being put in the chat that had already been answered numerous times over the last 3 years. And people are still asking them. And there's, when these briefs have come down through the post-conviction filings and whatnot, and the state responds, and I wake up to go to work in the morning, and I have a full-on book from Ashley, who's basically through the Getting Out app from prison, she's shedding tears that every single time she sees publicly that she tied an extension cord around Nicole and pulled on it so hard that it broke. She said, it's like a dagger in my heart every time I read that. And I understand how she feels, because every time I read that, I get angry in the fact that I've combed through these filings and this case for hours, and from beginning to end, inside and out. And when I see that, I'm like, how is this still being put in writing when we have so many explanations and we have so much factual documentation that that didn't happen? How is this still being presented in front of a judge that that's what happened? I understand her frustration. And when you are not like, this case is, if Garrett was bridge guy, Ashley's case might be a high profile case. Ashley's case was on the precipice of becoming a high profile case because of the suspicion on Garrett. But once that trickled off, all that was left was the demise of Ashley. And since then, there's been no one who has taken a second or a third or a fourth look at her case. I'm still seeing the same accusations. I'm still seeing, some of the same old run-of-the-mill dragging her down. And if you have enough audacity to make an accusation, then you should have enough grit behind you to click on the playlist and listen to what we've provided in her case coverage on this channel. Then you would have a better perspective of who she is, what transpired, and how she really truly is a victim. And I'm not taking away any of her bad decisions, the drug use. Your heart is your heart. You fall in love. You think you're falling in love with the good person. And then when, domestic violence is a very serious issue in this country. And until you walk in someone's shoes who has experienced that kind of love versus hate and compassion versus violence, you have no right judging someone. Ashley is a good person. Ashley has acknowledged her mistakes. Ashley has, prior to any of this, reached out for help and said, I know I have a problem. I need to fix myself. And she's made a lot of, she's cut ties with a lot of things to get herself in the right place. And then ultimately came home and fell right back into the same trap. It's not the first time that's happened to anybody. It just so happens that she fell in love with a fucking psychopath. So, where we're at right now with Ashley's case is I keep falling on the, sorry, I'm getting notifications. I keep leaning towards a positive edge, and I'm not going to stop doing that. We've had to go through the process. Post-conviction relief. The post-conviction relief filing was good. We had a good public defender step up out of the Indiana Public Defender's Office. and he filed a really good brief. However, I don't know if it was overconfidence or if it was over me not being a lawyer. I provided an entire book of information that could have been used in post-conviction. Not half of it was used. So the post-conviction relief went forward. We had an evidentiary hearing, Cherie and I. Cherie flew out to Indiana. I picked her up at the airport. We booked an Airbnb. We were there for, I believe, 4 days. We attended the evidentiary hearing, and the hearing, I would say, we walked out of there happy but concerned. Happy in the arguments that were raised, but concerned about the arguments and the evidence left off the table that could have reinforced what was presented. This right here, for me, is a major big deal. This picture on the right-hand side is a photograph of Nicole Bowen, beautiful photograph of Nicole Bowen, that was blown up and put on an easel and sat in the courtroom in front of the judge and the jury for the entire 4 days of Ashley's trial. For Garrett to get on the stand and claim that this photograph in a bathroom, you can clearly see in a bathroom because behind her is a roll of toilet paper hanging on the wall, that this photograph was taken the same day that he killed her. The purpose of this photo was for Garrett to state that this hat that you see in this photograph that Nicole is wearing was stolen after he killed her by Ashley, and that this is the white hat that Ashley wore to Lafayette County to be interviewed by police. Well, let's dig into that. Because the picture to the left is a photograph of Nicole 16 days prior. You can clearly see the difference in the weight in the face. You can clearly see the blemishes on the face that are not prevalent in the picture on the right. So that right there is something to take note of. Then, if you look at the outfit in the picture in the right, the dark clothing, Garrett claimed, oh, she took that photo the same day that I killed her. And that's the hat that Ashley took as a trophy. Well, that whole philosophy of Ashley took this hat came from Garrett's attorney playing for him Ashley's interrogation video. Ashley had a white crocheted hat on in her interrogation video. I have had multiple people who crochet and knit look at this hat that Nicole has on. First of all, they're two different hats. When you put them side by side and you compare them, they're two different hats. This hat that Nicole has on her head is a knitted hat. Ashley's hat is a crocheted hat that was sent to her by her uncle that she's had for a long time. We provided at the evidentiary hearing photographs of Ashley in her own crocheted hat prior to Nicole's death. But let's go a little bit further. So this is the outfit that Nicole's wearing in this photograph. On all counts, Garrett and Talitha Beckley both claim that when they hooked up with Nicole that day, Nicole was dope sick. Dope sick because she was a heroin addict and needed heroin. I highly doubt her first priority was changing clothes, changing a hat, and first and foremost, changing her nose ring. Because in this photograph, Nicole is wearing a post nose ring. When Nicole was found, Nicole was wearing a hoop nose ring and an entirely different outfit. So for me, this photograph that was put on an easel, blown up in front of the judge and jury throughout Ashley's trial was a fake. We don't know when this photo was taken. The judge allowed it in the courtroom without any timestamp or date and no metadata, nor did Ashley's public defender ask for any of that. But what we do know is that this is not the same face as this face 16 days prior. And not only that, in the pathologist report of Nicole's autopsy, the pathologist notates the scarring and the acne present on Nicole's face at the time of her autopsy. This photograph here on the right-hand side was taken at another day and time, probably long before March 2019. So that's one major issue. There's a lot more. So I guess I will leave it at that. And I will be back with Ashley next week. If any of you want to reach out to her, first of all, I want to thank you guys for the super stickers, the donations. I love all of you guys for that. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it a lot. It does help. It does help a lot because the phone calls and the messaging, they raised the Getting Out app. They raised from 28 cents a message to 50 cents a message. Yeah, so it is costly. So I appreciate all of that. But if any of you want to reach out to Ashley and just say hi, I try to communicate with her like every day, every other day via the chat, and at least two or three phone calls now a week. We used to talk every day, but that really got crazy expensive. But you can download the Getting Out app, and she's at the Indiana Women's Prison. She's not hard to find. You can add her to the Getting Out app, and you can message her. It's like a text message. It just costs 50 cents. She would love to hear from anybody. She's, she has her highs and her lows. She does all that she can to stay positive. I do everything I can to help her stay positive. I just sent her, it's with the prison, it's hit or miss. I just sent her for Christmas a book series. It's 3 books. And normally when I order through Amazon brand new books and you send them, she gets them. Well, for whatever reason, this time around, they confiscated them. And now she has to file a complaint and go before a board to argue why she should get the books. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're brand new. They're from a third party. They have, but I can send her something tomorrow from Amazon that she's allowed to have, and she'll get it. It's ridiculous how there's no standard or rule that you can really abide by when they say a third party, brand new, in the box. Obviously, like I've tried to send her calendars, and if it's got like a plastic or a metal ring, she can't get it. Everything has to be, binded. I've sent her playing cards. I've sent her all kinds of things, and she's gotten them. And then there's been some things that they don't let her get. So, yeah, I was really upset because that was her Christmas present that was supposed to be there right around Christmas. And for whatever reason, it was delayed. And then she finally got notification that they were there. And then the prison confiscated it. So kind of pissed about that. Yeah, they took her books. And I've sent her all kinds of books before. And she's gotten them. And then there's been a couple of things that she hasn't gotten. But her Christmas present that I sent her, which was a series of 3 books, and they took them. So, sucks. But, all right, guys. I'm going to hop off here, and it's 9:15. I'm going to go eat dinner, and then I'm going to hit the sack because I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But remember, if you want to reach out to her, Indiana Women's Prison, Ashley Garth, you can do an Indiana inmate search. You'll get her identification number and put that in. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Sweet dreams to you too. Great Lakes, under your scars. I don't recall. Anything lastly that you want to say, Cherie? I feel like I talk over everybody.
Oh, that's fine. It was so good to hear from her, and heart goes out to her. We're in her corner.
Yeah. We are. It's just for us, it's, I don't want to say a walk in the park, but it's, we take it day by day. But I think for her, her days drag. And everything just, as long as it feels like to us, it's like 3 times longer for her amongst everything else. So hopefully, thanks, Toby. Hopefully there's going to be some light at the rainbow at some point. We haven't come this far for nothing. All right, guys, I will see you later. Love you all. Happy Friday. Come tomorrow morning. Good night.